Welcome to part 5 of our lesson on nervous tissue and the parts of the nervous system. We are going to look at the parts of a nerve now. Notice I've been very careful to say neuron. So, let's review real quickly. We have our nervous tissue. We have our cell body. We have dendrites. We have our body, and we have our axon. Now, the cell body is going to have lots of ribosomes. So here are all these ribosomes inside the cell body. And the cell body actually is going to look gray. Now the axon is going to have some sort of myelin around it, either Schwann cells or oligodendrocytes. So I will add myelin to it. So here's our myelin wrapping around it. There's our nodes of RON-VA. So this is one neuron. So a neuron is a single nerve cell. Now, our nerves of our body are bundles of neurons, sort of like an electrical cable. An electrical cable is actually a bundle of smaller wires. So we are going to now look at neurons. We're going to look at gray matter. And myelin is actually white in color. Have you heard of gray matter and white matter before? So let's look at the spinal cord. The spinal cord is part of the central nervous system. Now myelin has a white appearance. So anytime you hear the word white matter, it is myelinated axons. So this is white matter. Therefore, all of this in here is all myelinated axons. Now, if you remember, I said that the niçal bodies, the ribosomes, are in the cell body, and they're gray. So gray matter is the cell body of neurons. So this is all the gray matter right here. So this is gray matter. So gray matter, cell bodies. White matter, myelinated axons. So basically, our central nervous system is going to have a bunch of cell bodies, and then white matter, which is the myelinated axons going off of it. So what's a nerve? I've been very careful to say neurons are cells. Well, here we have the spinal cord. Remember, the gray matter is in the center here. Now, there's all these cell bodies with their axons going out. So a nerve is a bundle of axons. So this is a nerve right here. It's literally like an electrical wire. It is bundles upon bundles of axons. So this is one axon. All those are bundled together in something called a fascicle. The fascicles are all bundled together in something called a nerve. So, the layers. We have our individual axons. So here are 3 axons, and they are wrapped with myelin. And these would be Schwann cells because this would be in the peripheral nervous system. Nerves are only in the peripheral nervous system. So here are 3 axons, they're wrapped in myelin. So, what we're going to get is each one of these is wrapped in something called endoneurium. So the endoneurium is going to surround this. Where have we heard endo before? Endo what? Oh, endomysium. Remember the endomysium wrapped the muscle fibers? Well, endoneurium. While the endoneurium wraps muscle fibers, or more specifically, the axons. Now, how was the muscle arranged? It was arranged in these things called fascicles. And the fascicles had, glitter, were wrapped in perineurium. So here's a bundle of axons right here, and they are wrapped together by the perineurium into fascicles. So we have our axons wrapped in endoneurium. So here we have axons wrapped in endoneurium. So we have all this endoneurium that is wrapping individual axons, and then we have the perineurium wrapping bundles of axons into things called fascicles. So similarly to muscle tissue, the whole nerve is wrapped in something called epineurium. So we have the whole thing wrapped in epineurium. So there's all these fascicles in here. The fascicles all have nerves in them. So it's like an electrical wire. So here's our axon. It's wrapped in myelin. The axon itself is wrapped then in endoneurium. So this is all endoneurium. So all these axons then are wrapped in fascicles. So that's the fascicle. And the fascicle is held together by perineurium. So endo, peri. Then the whole nerve is wrapped together by epineurium. So if we look at our next slide, we have our fiber with Schwann cells wrapped in endoneurium. Endoneurium. Then the bunch of fibers are wrapped in perineurium. The whole thing is wrapped in epineurium. So that is how a nerve is arranged. So in closing, our nervous system, we have the CNS, which is brain and spine. And we have the PNS, which is nerves, which are made up of neurons, ganglia, and receptors. So that is our nervous system overview. Now the nervous system functions to detect stimuli. So we have dendrites, and it's going to carry that information to the central nervous system. So this would be an afferent or sensory neuron. And what kind of neuron is this? Has one dendrite, then axon. So it would be a unipolar neuron. Now it's going to go to the spinal cord, and we have gray matter there. Do you guys remember what gray matter is? Right, it is the cell bodies of neurons. So we have the cell body of an integration neuron. And integration neurons tend to be multipolar, where afferent are unipolar. Now the gray matter is also going to have the cell bodies of motor neurons. So we have the cell body of a motor neuron there. Then we have the axon going out. So this would be an efferent neuron. Now all of this right here would be in the peripheral nervous system. So this is the PNS. So in the PNS, it takes in information to the central nervous system, carries it away, while the central nervous system decides what to do. So you stick your hand in cold water, sends a message to the spinal cord saying it's cold, sends a message to an efferent neuron which retracts your hand out. And we have our three types of neurons. We have unipolar neurons, so dendrites with one long axon. The cell body is over here. And these are always afferent. We have bipolar neurons that have one dendrite, a cell body, and one axon. And then we have our multipolar neuron that have many dendrites, one cell body, and one axon right here. These are afferent also. These are efferent and integration. Then we talked about the glial cells that surrounded it, and I expect that you'd be able to match the glial cells with their function, such as the Schwann cell, which covers the axon and insulates it, the astrocyte, which provides the brain-blood barrier, the microglial cell, which is the garbage disposal unit. Around our unipolar neuron, we're going to have satellite cells, which are going to produce myelin in the, they are going to nourish the cell bodies in the peripheral nervous system. And we have the epidermal cells, which make some weird thing called cerebrospinal fluid. So this is the end of our lecture. I expect that you guys know all of this for the test. Thank you very much.